Before we descend into Yellowstone's volcanic underworld, do me a favor. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and if you've ever been to Yellowstone. Hit like if the idea of being turned to stone terrifies you. Subscribe for more real military encounters with things that shouldn't exist. Now let's go underground. My name is Trevor Martinez and I serve as a senior sergeant in the United States Army, 75th Ranger Regiment. What I'm about to tell you violates all my security clearances and will likely negatively impact my future career. However, 8 people died in the geothermal caves beneath Yellowstone National Park, and the official explanation, equipment failure, tragic accident, toxic gas exposure, is a lie told to prevent mass panic. The truth is, something lives in those caves, something ancient, something that has been sleeping in volcanic heat for thousands of years. And in November 2023, we woke it up. It all started with earthquakes. Yellowstone sits directly on top of one of the largest supervolcanoes on Earth, a massive magma chamber that could theoretically erupt and end civilization as we know it. The volcano is constantly monitored by the United States Geological Survey, and hundreds of seismic sensors track every tremor, every pressure change, every hint that the sleeping giant might be waking up. In October 2023, those sensors started showing unusual patterns. Not the normal micro-earthquakes that Yellowstone experiences constantly. These were different, deeper, more organized, almost rhythmic like a heartbeat. The USGS requested military assistance to deploy additional monitoring equipment in areas too dangerous or restricted for civilian teams. That's where we came in. 10 Army Rangers, specialists in operating in extreme environments, tasked with what should have been a straightforward mission. Hike into Yellowstone's backcountry, install seismic sensors in geothermal cave systems, collect data, get out. Simple, safe, routine. We deployed to Yellowstone on November 12, 2023. The park was in its off-season, most tourist areas closed, snow covering the higher elevations, only skeleton staff remaining. Perfect conditions for a classified military operation that the public didn't need to know about. Our team of 10 included Lieutenant Yolanthe Martinez as mission commander, me as second in command, and 8 Rangers I'd served with for years: Jackson, Williams, Rodriguez, Kim, Hassien, Foster, Butler, and Thompson. We were tight, professional. We'd operated together in Afghanistan, Iraq, and half a dozen training exercises across the United States. If something went wrong, I trusted these people with my life. We established base camp near Norris Geyser Basin, one of Yellowstone's most thermally active areas. Temperatures in the ground can reach over 400 degrees Fahrenheit just a few feet below the surface. The air smells like sulfur. Steam vents hiss and boil. Walking through Norris feels like walking on the surface of another planet. On November 13th, before we began our mission, we had a visitor. An elderly Native American man walked into our camp as we were prepping equipment. He was maybe 75, 80 years old, wearing traditional Shoshone clothing mixed with modern cold-weather gear. His name was Joseph Stone Bear, and he was a tribal elder from the eastern Shoshone. "You're the military men going into the deep caves," he said. Not a question, a statement. Martinez stepped forward. "Sir, this is a restricted area. I'm going to have to ask you to—" "I know these lands," Stone Bear interrupted. "My people have known them for 10,000 years. We have agreements with what lives here. Old agreements. You're about to break them." "What are you talking about?" I asked. Stone Bear's eyes were dark and serious. "The earth has been shaking. You feel it, yes? The tremors. They're not random. They're not natural. Something below is waking up, something my ancestors called So-Apitse, the stone people." Williams laughed. Stone people? Come on, old man, there's nothing down there but hot water and rock. The rock is them, Stone Bear said. They live in the heat, in the minerals, in the bones of the earth. When the ground is quiet, they sleep. When the ground shakes, they wake. And when they wake, he shook his head. They protect their territory. They turn intruders to stone, make them part of the mountain forever. Petrification, Jackson said. You're talking about fossils. That takes millions of years. Not their petrification. Theirs is instant. They touch you, and your flesh becomes mineral. Your bones become crystal. You stop being soft, living thing. You become hard, dead thing. Statue. Forever. Martinez tried to be diplomatic. Mr. Stone Bear, we appreciate the warning, but we're here on official government business. We have a job to do. Stone Bear reached into his jacket and pulled out a small pouch. Inside were pieces of black glass, obsidian, volcanic glass formed from cooled lava. Each piece was carved with symbols I didn't recognize. Then take these. My grandfather gave them to me. He said they protect against the stone people's gaze. I don't know if they work, but if you're going down there, you'll need every protection you can get. He held out the obsidian pieces. Martinez hesitated, then accepted them. Not because she believed him, but out of respect for an elder trying to help. Thank you, Mr. Stone Bear. We'll be careful. Careful isn't enough, Stone Bear said. The Soapitsi have been here since before humans. They were old when the first Shoshone arrived. They'll be here after we're all gone. Don't disturb them, please, for your sake and ours. Then he left, walking back toward the tree line, leaving us with a bag of obsidian charms and a warning that seemed ridiculous in the bright November sunlight. Well, that was creepy, Rodriguez said. Local superstition, Martinez replied, though she pocketed the obsidian pieces. Probably been passing down stories about the geothermal features for generations. Hot springs, mineral deposits, geological processes they didn't understand became monsters and magic. Still, I said, the timing is weird. The earthquake swarm started a month ago. Now, he shows up warning us about things that wake up when the ground shakes. Coincidence, Martinez said firmly. We stick to the mission. Sensors, data collection, extraction. Simple as that. We entered the cave system on November 14th at 0800 hours. The entrance was a crack in the earth near Porcelain Basin, partially hidden by mineral deposits and steam vents. USGS geologists had identified it months earlier as a potential access point to deeper geothermal chambers. Perfect for placing monitoring equipment. The cave was barely wide enough for us to squeeze through single file, carrying our packs and equipment. The temperature immediately jumped from freezing outside to over 100 degrees inside. The air was thick with moisture and sulfur. Our gear fogged up instantly. This is like breathing in a sauna from hell, Hassan said, adjusting his respirator. We descended carefully, following a natural tunnel that angled down into the earth. The walls were covered in mineral deposits, calcium, sulfur, silica, creating bizarre formations that looked almost organic, like the cave was alive and growing. After an hour of climbing down, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber. Jesus, Williams whispered. The chamber was the size of a cathedral. The ceiling was lost in darkness and steam. The floor was covered in terraced mineral pools, some crystal clear, others bubbling with superheated water. And everywhere, on the walls, floor, ceiling, were formations that looked disturbingly like frozen waterfalls made of stone. But it was what was in the formations that stopped us cold. Human shapes. Dozens of them. Figures that had once been people, now completely encased in mineral deposits. Some were standing, arms raised as if reaching for something. Others were crouched or lying down. All of them were frozen in poses of terror or desperation. "Are those statues?" Kim asked. Martinez moved closer to examine one. It was a man, maybe 6 feet tall, wearing what looked like old clothing. Canvas pants, a wool jacket, boots, but everything was covered in a thick layer of white and gray minerals. The face was partially visible through the deposits, mouth open in a silent scream, eyes wide with horror. "These aren't statues," Martinez said quietly. "These are people, or they were. This is some kind of mineral deposition process. They got caught in here, maybe fell into hot water or got trapped, and over time, the minerals encrusted them." "That would take decades," I said. "Maybe centuries for this much buildup. Unless the geothermal activity here is more extreme than we thought," Jackson suggested. "Rapid mineral deposition in superheated water. It's possible." But something felt wrong. The poses, the expressions. These people hadn't died peacefully and then gotten covered in minerals over time. They looked like they'd been running from something, fighting something, and then been frozen in place instantly. Foster was examining another figure, a woman, reaching upward, fingers clawed as if trying to climb out of something. "Look at this one. The clothing is more modern, nylon jacket, hiking boots. This can't be more than a few years old." "Missing hikers," Rodriguez said. "Yellowstone loses people every year. Most are found, but some just disappear, never recovered. And they end up here," Williams finished. Jesus Christ. Thompson had moved to the far side of the chamber. "Hey, there's equipment over here, modern equipment." We gathered around him. Scattered across the mineral floor were pieces of USGS gear, rock hammers, sample bags, a crushed hard hat, and a radio that was half encased in mineral buildup. Martinez checked the equipment. "This is recent, last few months maybe. USGS must have sent a team down here before us." "Where are they?" Hassan asked. I scanned the chamber again, counting the figures encased in minerals. Most were old. Clothing from decades past, some even older. But there, near the back of the chamber, were 3 figures in modern clothing, khaki pants, fleece jackets, boots that looked brand new. "There," I said, pointing. We approached carefully. 3 people, 2 men and a woman, completely covered in mineral deposits. The deposition was so thick on these ones that their features were barely visible, but their poses told the story. They were clustered together, backs to each other, facing outward like they'd been surrounded. And their faces... God, their faces. Even through the mineral crust you could see the terror. "This doesn't make sense," Jackson said. "This much mineral buildup takes decades minimum, but this equipment is fresh. These people can't have been here more than a few months. Unless the deposition rate here is thousands of times faster than normal," Martinez said. But even she sounded uncertain. I knelt down next to one of the modern figures, examining the minerals more closely. They were different from the formations on the walls. These weren't the typical white and gray of calcium and silica deposits. These were darker, almost metallic, with veins of red and orange running through them like cooled lava. And as I watched, one of the orange veins pulsed, just slightly, like a heartbeat. "Martinez, what are you doing?" Martinez called. "Something's wrong with these deposits," I said. "They're not." The figure's hand moved, just a fraction of an inch, a finger twitching, but movement, definite movement. I scrambled backward. "It moved! The hand moved!" "That's impossible," William said. "It's a corpse covered in rock." But then we all saw it. The figure's chest rose slightly, fell, rose again. It was breathing. Under all those mineral deposits encased in stone, this person was still alive. "Oh, God," Foster whispered. "They're alive. All of them. They're trapped inside the stone, still alive." Martinez pulled out her radio. "Base camp, this is Martinez. We have a situation. We found multiple people in the caves. Looks like some kind of mineral incrustation, but they're showing signs of life. We need immediate extraction and medical static. Just static." The radio wasn't working. "Too much rock between us and the surface," Rodriguez said. "Signal can't penetrate. Then we go back up, call for help, and come back with a rescue team," Martinez decided. "Mark this location. The chamber shook. A tremor, not strong, but enough to make the mineral pools ripple and small rocks fall from the ceiling. And in that moment, I heard it. A sound like stone grinding against stone. Coming from deeper in the cave system. Getting closer. "Did you hear that?" Hassan asked. We all heard it. Stone, scraping, movement. And something else. A low, resonant sound like wind through a canyon, but with an almost vocal quality. The orange veins in the mineral deposits around us started glowing brighter, pulsing faster. The temperature in the chamber jumped 10 degrees in seconds. "We need to leave," I said. "Right now." Another tremor, stronger this time. More mineral dust fell from the ceiling, and the grinding sound got louder, much louder. Something was coming up from the deep caves, something drawn by the earthquake, something that had been sleeping and was now awake. "Move!" Martinez ordered. We ran for the tunnel we'd entered through, but before we could reach it, the chamber shook violently. A section of floor collapsed into a pool of bubbling water. Steam exploded upward, obscuring visibility. When the steam cleared, Jackson and Kim were on the wrong side of the new chasm, cut off from the rest of us. "Jump!" Williams yelled. "It's only 8 feet. You can make it." Jackson backed up, took a running start, and leaped. He made it across, barely, rolling as he landed. Kim hesitated. "I can't make that jump with my pack." "Dump the pack," Martinez ordered. But before Kim could move, something emerged from one of the side tunnels behind him. It was humanoid, 7, maybe 8 feet tall. But it wasn't human. Its body was covered in mineral deposits and crystalline structures. Where skin should have been, there was gray stone with veins of glowing orange magma running through it like blood vessels. Its face was partially formed, eye sockets that glowed with molten light, a mouth that was just a crack in stone. It moved with a grinding, jerking motion, like stop-motion animation. Each step cracked the ground beneath it. The Tsoapitse, the Stone People. Joseph Stone Bear had been telling the truth. Kim turned, saw it, and screamed. The creature moved faster than something made of rock should be able to move. It covered the distance to Kim in 3 strides, reaching out with hands that looked like they were carved from volcanic rock. "Kim, run!" I yelled. But there was nowhere to run. The creature's hand closed around Kim's shoulder. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Kim's scream changed pitch, changed from terror to something worse, agony and horror combined. Where the creature touched him, Kim's flesh was turning gray. The color change spread from the contact point like infection, creeping up his neck, down his arm, across his chest. His skin was becoming stone, calcifying, petrifying, in real time. "Shoot it!" Rodriguez screamed. We opened fire. 10 Rangers, full automatic, hundreds of rounds hitting the stone creature from 20 feet away. The bullets ricocheted off its body like shooting at a boulder. Sparks where they hit, chips of stone breaking off. But no real damage. It didn't even flinch. and Kim was still screaming as the calcification spread. His legs locked up, his arm froze in place. The gray stone covered his face, his mouth still open in that endless scream. Then silence. Kim was a statue. Still standing, one arm reaching out, face frozen in horror. The creature released him and turned toward the rest of us. Its mouth opened, and that sound came out again, like wind through stone, like the earth itself groaning. More grinding sounds. From multiple tunnels, multiple directions. There were more of them, many more. "Fall back," Martinez ordered. "Back to the entrance. Go!" We ran, leaving Kim's calcified body behind, racing through steam and darkness with the sounds of stone creatures grinding their way toward us from every direction. We'd woken the stone people, and they were hunting. We ran through Yellowstone's thermal basin in the dark, 7 rangers fleeing from 5 stone people who shouldn't exist. Behind us, the grinding sound of their footsteps echoed through the night. They were faster on the surface than they'd been in the caves, faster than they should be. The obsidian pendant around my neck felt warm against my chest. I didn't know if it was actually protecting me or if I was just desperate for something, anything to believe in. But I kept it on. "Old Faithful, 2 o'clock, Williams yelled, pointing at the massive geyser cone maybe 300 meters away. Steam was building in the darkness, illuminated by moonlight and the thermal glow of the basin. We were running through one of the most dangerous landscapes in North America. Geysers, hot springs, fumaroles, all connected to the supervolcano beneath our feet. One wrong step and you'd fall through thin crust into boiling water. But the alternative was being caught by those things behind us. Rodriguez checked his thermal scope. They're still following, 50 meters back, moving in formation. "Formation?" Butler panted. "They're coordinating?" "Like a hunting pack," Rodriguez confirmed. "They're not just chasing, they're herding us." "Herding us where?" Mitchell asked. That's when his Old Faithful erupted. But it wasn't the regular eruption. This was different. The water shot sideways, directly at us, like someone had aimed it. A jet of scalding water, hundreds of gallons rocketing through the air at high pressure. "Down!" I screamed. We hit the ground. The water passed over us close enough that I felt the heat on my back. If we'd been standing, we'd have been boiled alive. "They control it," Williams gasped. "Holy shit, they control the geothermal system. They can trigger eruptions." The stone people were using Yellowstone as a weapon. We scrambled to our feet and kept running. But now every geyser, every hot spring, every steam vent was a potential threat. And there were thousands of them in this basin. Harris wasn't fast enough. He was our heaviest operator, carrying the communications gear. When the next geyser erupted, Riverside, I think, the jet hit him square in the chest. He screamed. The water was near boiling, stripping skin on contact. Harris went down, writhing, his vest smoking from the heat. "Harris!" Santos changed direction, running toward him. "Santos, no!" Butler yelled. But Santos wasn't listening. She reached Harris, trying to drag him away from the geyser's spray. That's when one of the stone people caught up. It moved with that grinding, jerking motion, reached out one hand, touched Santos's shoulder. The calcification spread like wildfire. Santos's scream cut off as her vocal cords turned to stone. Within seconds, she was a statue, frozen in the act of trying to save Harris. Harris was still alive, still conscious, burned and in agony. One of the stone people bent over him, not to calcify him, to study him, like it was curious about his pain. Then it touched his forehead, and Harris became stone too. His mouth was still open in a scream, his body was still burned and blistered. but now it was all gray mineral, preserved forever in that moment of suffering. 5 Rangers left: Butler, Rodriguez, Mitchell, Williams, and me. Half our team gone in 3 hours. We reached the tree line and took cover behind a fallen log. The stone people had stopped pursuing. They stood at the edge of the thermal basin, maybe 100 meters away, perfectly still. Steam rose around them, backlit by the glowing hot springs. They looked like guardians, sentinels watching over their territory. "Why did they stop?" Mitchell asked, gasping for breath. "We left their territory," I said. "The thermal basin. That's their hunting ground. Maybe they won't follow us into the forest." Rodriguez was setting up his radio. "Command, this is Ranger 1. Do you copy? Emergency situation. 5 KIA. Hostile contact confirmed. Unknown entities. Request immediate air extraction." Static, then a voice. "Ranger 1, this is command. We copy your transmission. What is the nature of your hostile contact?" Butler took the radio. "Command, we encountered unknown biological entities in the cave system. Humanoid. Approximately 8 feet tall, capable of rapid calcification of human tissue. We've lost 5 personnel. Request immediate extraction by helicopter. We are combat ineffective and unable to complete mission." Silence on the other end. Then, "Ranger 1, did you say calcification?" "Affirmative, command. Our personnel were turned to stone, petrified alive. We need extraction now. Ranger 1, stand by." We waited. 2 minutes, 5 minutes. The stone people still hadn't moved. They just stood there at the edge of the thermal basin watching us with those glowing molten eyes. The radio crackled. "Ranger 1, air extraction is not possible due to weather conditions. Heavy snow moving in, you're socked in until morning. Can you hold position until 0700 hours? Butler looked at the rest of us. We were exhausted, terrified, armed, but unsure if bullets would even work against stone creatures. Holding position for 8 hours against things that could turn you into a statue seemed impossible. But we didn't have a choice. "Affirmative, command. We'll hold until 0700. But if those things come for us again, we're not sure we can stop them." "Understood. Satellite thermal imaging shows 5 large signatures at your last known location. Can you confirm?" 5 hostiles, correct. And they're stationary. For now. Hold your position, Ranger 1. Reinforcements are being mobilized. We're taking this situation very seriously. Command out. Butler turned off the radio to save battery. 8 hours. We just need to survive 8 hours. "And if they come for us before then?" Williams asked. "Then we fight," Rodriguez said. He was checking his ammunition. "We find out if stone bleeds." We established a defensive perimeter in the forest about 200 meters from the thermal basin. Mitchell took first watch while the rest of us tried to catch our breath and process what had happened. "Those aren't animals," Williams said quietly. "They're not some unknown species. They're something else entirely." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Think about it. They're made of stone and mineral. They have what looks like magma flowing through them. They can control geothermal eruptions. They're not biological. They're geological. Living rock. Life based on silicon and minerals instead of carbon." "That's impossible," Mitchell said. "Life requires organic chemistry. DNA. Cells." "Earth-based life requires that," Williams corrected. "But what if these things evolved here differently? What if they're native to the supervolcano? They've been down there for millions of years, living in the heat and pressure, evolving in an environment we consider uninhabitable." "You're saying they're not aliens," I said. "They're terrestrial, just a different type of life that we never knew existed." "Exactly. and we woke them up with our seismic sensors. The vibrations, the disturbances, it activated them. Rodriguez was studying the stone people through his scope. They're still just standing there, haven't moved in 20 minutes. Maybe they're sleeping, Mitchell suggested. Stone Bear said they wake when the earth shakes. Maybe they can only stay active for short periods. Or maybe they're waiting, Butler said grimly. Waiting for us to make a mistake. At 2100 hours, the temperature dropped. We were at 7,500 feet elevation in November. Without proper cold weather gear left at base camp, we were in trouble. The thermal basin had been warm, but here in the forest it was below freezing. We need fire, Mitchell said through chattering teeth. Fire will give away our position, Rodriguez argued. We already lost the thermal battle, Williams said. They know exactly where we are. They can probably sense our body heat through the ground. A fire won't make a difference. We built a small fire, keeping it sheltered and controlled. The warmth was incredible, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were making ourselves targets. At 30 hours, Williams went to check the perimeter. He'd been gone maybe 2 minutes when we heard him scream. We grabbed our weapons and ran toward the sound. Found Williams on the ground, his left leg gray and hardening. One of the stone people was standing over him, hand extended. I didn't think. I just acted. Raised my rifle and fired 3 shots at the creature's head. The bullets hit. Rock shattered. Fragments flew. The stone people's head cracked, a chunk of its face breaking off, revealing the glowing magma core beneath. It stumbled back. Not killed. Rock doesn't die, but damaged, disoriented. "They can be hurt," I yelled. "Aim for the head. Break them apart." We opened fire, all of us, 30 rounds into the stone people at close range. It collapsed, its body shattered into pieces, each piece glowing orange from the magma inside. The pieces continued to move, twitching and grinding, but it was no longer a threat. But Williams's leg was completely stone. The calcification had stopped at his hip, but everything below was solid rock. "Can you feel it?" Mitchell asked him. Williams shook his head. "Nothing, it's just gone, not numb. Gone, like it was never part of me. We need to get you to the helicopter in the morning," Butler said. "Medical can figure out—" "It's spreading," Williams interrupted. He pulled up his shirt. The gray discoloration was creeping up his stomach. Slow, but steady. It didn't stop. The touch just activated it. Now it's progressing on its own. "How long?" Rodriguez asked quietly. "Maybe 6 hours, maybe less, by the time the helicopter gets here." Williams didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. We dragged him back to our defensive position. The shattered pieces of the stone people were still moving on the ground, still glowing. But there were 4 more of them standing at the edge of the thermal basin, and they were starting to move toward us. "They're coming," Mitchell said. "All of them?" "How many bullets do we have left?" Butler asked. Rodriguez checked. "Maybe 200 rounds total. If it takes 30 rounds to drop one of them, we can kill." He did the math. 6, maybe 7 if we're lucky. "There are only 4 left," I said. "That we can see," Rodriguez corrected. "Stone Bear said when the earth shakes, they wake. How many earthquakes has Yellowstone had in the past month? What if there are more than 5 of these things? What if there are dozens?" As if in answer, the ground rumbled. Not a full earthquake, just a tremor. But in the thermal basin, new steam vents erupted. Geysers that hadn't been active suddenly shot water into the air. And from the caves, from cracks in the earth, from the hot springs themselves, more shapes emerged. Not 5, not 10, 20, 30, maybe more. Stone people rising from Yellowstone's geothermal system, awakened by our disturbance. "Oh God," Williams whispered. We're not getting out of here. The horde of stone people began advancing, slow, methodical, grinding their way toward the forest, toward us. "Fall back," Butler ordered. "Head for base camp. We get to the vehicles and we drive out of here." We ran again, but Williams couldn't run. His leg was stone. He could barely hop. Mitchell and I carried him between us, his stone leg dragging on the ground. Behind us, 30 stone people followed. And ahead, we could see base camp, our vehicles, salvation, if we could reach them before the horde caught us, if Williams didn't turn completely to stone before morning, if we survived the longest night of our lives. We reached base camp at 23:15 hours, 4 Rangers carrying one whose body was slowly turning to stone. Williams was now calcified up to his chest. His breathing was shallow. He was dying, and we all knew it. "Get him in the command tent," Butler ordered. "Rodriguez, check the vehicles. Mitchell, establish defensive perimeter. Martinez, radio command with updated situation." Our base camp was designed for a 3-day deployment. 3 tents, 2 vehicles, equipment, supplies. It was never meant to be a fortress, and now we had to defend it against 30 stone creatures that could turn you into a statue with a touch. I got on the radio. "Command, this is Ranger 1. Situation critical. We have reached base camp but are under pursuit by estimated 30 hostile entities. 1 more casualty. Specialist Williams is compromised and non-mobile. Request immediate air extraction regardless of weather. Ranger 1, air support is impossible in current conditions. Wind shear and snow. Any helicopter we send will crash. Then send ground support. Armored vehicles. Something. We're about to be overrun by things that don't show up in any field manual. Ranger 1, be advised that satellite imaging is tracking the hostile signatures. They appear to be converging on your position from multiple directions. Estimate contact in 15 minutes. We know they're coming, Command. We can see them. What we need is support or extraction. Closest military asset is at Malmstrom Air Force Base, 3 hours away. Yellowstone Park Rangers are being notified, but they're not equipped for this kind of threat." "What kind of threat are they equipped for?" I demanded. "Because these things turn people into stone. How do we fight that?" Silence on the other end. Then, "Do your best to hold position. Help is coming. Command out." I slammed the radio down. "We're on our own." Rodriguez came back from checking the vehicles. "Both trucks are operational, but the roads are covered in snow and ice. In the dark, on these mountain roads, we'd be lucky to get 5 miles before sliding off a cliff. So we can't drive out," Butler said. "Not safely, not at night, not with this weather." "Then we dig in," Mitchell decided. She was pulling equipment from the supply tent. "We have flares, flashlights, weapons, ammunition. We make this camp defensible and we hold until daylight." Williams coughed, a horrible grinding sound like rocks scraping together. His chest was almost completely stone now. His breathing was barely a whisper. "Martinez," he rasped. "The pendant. Stonebear's pendant. Does it work?" I pulled out the obsidian charm. "I don't know. I've been wearing it and I'm still human, but I also haven't been touched by them. Give it to someone who needs it more." Williams's eyes were pleading. "I'm already gone, but you 5 might make it." "You're not gone," Mitchell said firmly. "When the helicopter gets here in the morning, we're getting you to a hospital. They'll figure out how to reverse this." But Williams shook his head. A small movement, his neck already stiffening. "No hospital can fix stone, but you can stop them. The elder said, 'Don't disturb the deep places.' We disturbed everything. Seismic sensors woke them all up. You have to seal the caves, collapse them, trap them underground again." "How?" I asked. "Demo charges, in the trucks, enough C4 to bring down half a mountain. Place them at key supports. In the cave system, collapse the whole thing. He coughed again. But someone has to go back into those caves. We all looked at each other. Going back into the caves meant going through 30 stone people. It meant getting past them, planting explosives, and getting out alive. It was suicide. We'll figure it out, Butler said. After we survive tonight. Rodriguez, what's our ammunition situation? About 150 rounds total. 30 rounds dropped one of them. We can maybe kill 4 or 5 more before we're out. And there are 30 of them, Mitchell said. The math was simple and devastating. Then we make every shot count, Butler replied. And we use everything else we have, flares, fire, whatever it takes. Williams grabbed my hand. His grip was weak, his fingers starting to harden. Martinez, promise me. You'll seal those caves. Don't let what happened to us happen to anyone else. I promise, I said. He smiled, or tried to. His face was calcifying, his expression freezing in place. Good. Now, get ready. They're almost here. At 2330 hours, the stone people emerged from the darkness. They came from every direction, walking slowly, deliberately, grinding forward through the snow. Their stone bodies were impervious to cold. Their glowing eyes and the magma flowing through them created an eerie orange light in the darkness. We'd set up defensive positions using the vehicles and equipment as cover. Mitchell and Rodriguez took the north approach. Butler and I took the south. Williams, barely conscious, was in the command tent. Weapons free, Butler ordered. Aim for the heads. Fire when they reach 50 meters. They walked through our perimeter lights, into the camp. The grinding of their footsteps was deafening. Fire! We opened up. Controlled bursts, aiming for their heads like we'd learned in the forest. Rock shattered. Fragments flew. The front line of stone people stumbled, some falling apart, others just damaged but still advancing. But for every one we dropped, 3 more came forward. They're not stopping, Mitchell yelled. We're not killing them fast enough. Rodriguez switched to full automatic. Forget conservation. Just break them. We poured fire into the advancing horde. My rifle clicked empty. I dropped the magazine, slapped in a new one, kept firing. Beside me, Butler was doing the same. A stone person made it to our position. Reached over our improvised barricade. Butler shoved his rifle barrel directly against its head and fired point blank. The head exploded in a shower of rock and magma, but another one was right behind it, and another. They were overwhelming us by sheer numbers. Fall back to the command tent, Butler ordered. Fighting retreat. We abandoned our positions and ran for the tent. Behind us, stone people flooded into the camp, knocking over equipment, pushing aside vehicles, grinding forward with single-minded purpose. Inside the tent, Williams was propped against the supply crates. His body was 90% stone now. Only his head and one arm remained flesh. But he was holding something, a detonator, connected to all the demo charges from the trucks. Williams, what are you doing? Mitchell demanded. Buying you time, he whispered. His voice was barely audible. I wired the whole camp, enough explosive to vaporize everything within 50 meters. You'll die, Rodriguez shouted. Already dying. Already stone. But I can choose how. Williams's eyes found mine. You promised. Seal the caves, stop them. Don't let my death be for nothing. Butler grabbed my shoulder. Martinez, we need to go now. There's an emergency exit, Williams said. Back of tent. Take it, run. When you're clear, I'll blow it. They won't follow you. Most of them will be here. Jake, Mitchell was crying. There has to be another way. This is the way. Now go. Let me be the hero one last time. We fled through the back of the tent. Behind us, stone people were tearing through the front entrance, grinding their way toward Williams and his detonator. We ran into the forest. 50 meters, 100, 200. Behind us, Williams yelled one final thing, "Semper Fi!" Then the world exploded. The blast lit up the night like a second sun. Every explosive in the camp, every demo charge, every grenade, all detonating simultaneously. The shockwave knocked us off our feet. The roar was deafening. When the smoke cleared, the camp was gone. Just a crater surrounded by scattered debris and burning equipment. And in the center, roughly 20 calcified bodies, stone people who'd been caught in the blast. They were shattered, broken apart, their magma cores cooling in the cold night air. But they were destroyed. Williams had taken out most of the horde in one heroic sacrifice. "Count off," Butler said weakly. "Rodriguez here. Mitchell here. Martinez here." 4 Rangers left. Butler, Rodriguez, Mitchell, and me. 6 dead. Anderson, Foster, Morrison, Harris, Santos, Williams. "How many stone people are left?" Mitchell asked. I did a rough count of the shattered bodies. Maybe 20 in the blast radius. If there were 30 total, that leaves 10 still active. 10 we can handle, Rodriguez said. 10 we can fight. But where were they? The answer came from the thermal basin. More grinding sounds. More shapes emerging from the steam. Not 10, 50, 100. More. "They're still waking up," Butler said, horrified. "The explosion, the seismic shock, it's triggering more earthquakes. We're waking up the entire colony." "We can't fight that many," Mitchell said. "We need to run, get to the road, walk out of Yellowstone if we have to." Williams was right, I said. "We need to seal the caves. It's the only way to stop them. If we don't, they'll keep coming. They'll spread beyond Yellowstone. They'll turn everyone they touch into stone." "So what do you suggest?" Butler demanded. "We're 4 people with maybe 50 rounds between us. We can't fight our way through 100 stone people to plant explosives in their caves." I thought about Williams's plan, about the geology of Yellowstone, about the interconnected nature of the geothermal system. "We don't need to go into the caves," I said slowly. "We need to make Old Faithful go into the caves." "What?" Rodriguez stared at me. "The caves are part of the geothermal system. They're connected to the underground water table, to the magma chamber, to everything. If we can trigger a catastrophic eruption, force the entire thermal basin to erupt at once, it would flood the caves with superheated water and steam. That would kill everything down there," Mitchell said. "Exactly. And seal the caves forever. The mineral deposits would calcify over the entrances. Nothing gets out." "How do we trigger a catastrophic eruption?" Butler asked. I pulled out Williams's detonator. He'd given me the spare. "We still have explosives in those trucks, enough to crack the thermal pipes, force all the pressure to release at once. It would be like setting off a volcanic bomb." "That would destroy Old Faithful," Rodriguez said. "Possibly create a permanent vent, change Yellowstone's geology forever. Better than letting stone monsters escape into the world," I replied. Butler made the decision. "We do it. Rodriguez, Martinez, get to the trucks, grab every explosive you can carry. Mitchell and I will provide cover. We meet at the cave entrance in 20 minutes. We plant the charges, we run like hell, and we blow this whole basin to kingdom come." It was an insane plan. But it was the only plan we had. And somewhere in those caves, the stone people were waiting. We raided what was left of the destroyed camp, pulling C4 charges from the wrecked vehicles. Rodriguez and I worked fast, filling our packs with every explosive we could find: detonators, timers, fuses, everything we'd need to create a catastrophic geothermal eruption. Butler and Mitchell kept watch, scanning the darkness for more stone people. They were out there. We could hear the grinding, see the orange glow of their magma veins moving through the forest. "How much time do we have?" Mitchell asked. "Until they reorganize," Butler replied. "Williams' explosion scattered them, but they're regrouping. I'd say 30 minutes before they mount another coordinated attack. Then we need to move," I said, shouldering my pack full of explosives. "The cave entrance is half a click from here. The thermal pipes are inside, about 200 meters down." Rodriguez checked his rifle. "And we need to place charges at multiple points to create a cascading failure. One explosion won't do it. We need synchronized detonations along the entire geothermal line." "Which means splitting up," Butler said. He pulled out a rough map he'd sketched of the cave system. 4 entry points, 4 rangers. We each take one position, plant our charges, set the timers, and extract. We meet at the surface and detonate remotely. "What's our timeline?" Mitchell asked. 30-minute timers as backup, but we trigger remotely when we're all clear. That gives us time to plant and get out before the basin erupts." "And if one of us doesn't make it out?" I asked. Butler's expression was grim. "Then the rest of us blow it anyway. We can't let those things escape Yellowstone." We moved through the dark forest toward the cave entrance. The stone people were everywhere now. We could see them moving through the trees, their glowing eyes creating a constellation of orange points in the darkness. But they weren't attacking. They were herding us again, guiding us. "They want us to go into the caves," Rodriguez whispered. "Or they're waiting for something," Mitchell replied. We reached the main cave entrance at 00:15 hours. The steam was still pouring out, warm and sulfurous. Inside, we could see the glow of geothermal vents, and deep in the darkness, more orange eyes. More stone people. "This is a trap," I said. "Of course it's a trap," Butler agreed. "But we're going in anyway. Everyone check your charges. 30-minute timers, set and go. Don't engage unless necessary. Our goal is to plant and extract, not fight." We split up. Butler took the north tunnel. Rodriguez went east. Mitchell took west. I descended into the main chamber, the place where we'd first encountered the stone people hours ago. The descent was terrifying. Every shadow could be a creature. Every grinding sound could be death approaching. But I kept moving, following my marked trail from our earlier deployment. The geothermal pipes were massive, natural formations of rock that carried superheated water from the magma chamber to the surface geysers. If I could crack these pipes in the right places, the pressure would force the entire system to erupt simultaneously. I placed my first charge at a structural weakness, a thin section of rock over a major pipe. Set the timer. Moved to the next position. That's when I heard Mitchell over the radio. "Contact. I've got 3 stone people blocking my path. I can't get to the second charge point." "Mitchell, fall back." Butler's voice was tight with tension. "Regroup at the entrance." "Negative. If I don't place all my charges, the cascade won't work. I'm going through them." Gunfire echoed through the caves. Mitchell was engaging. I kept working, placing my second charge. Then my third. The timer on my watch showed 23 minutes before the backup detonation. Rodriguez came over the radio. "Charges placed. Extracting now. East tunnel is clear." "North tunnel charges placed," Butler reported. "Moving to extract." "Martinez, what's your status?" "One more charge to place. 90 seconds. Make it fast. Butler's transmission cut off. Butler! Butler, respond! Static, then screaming. Butler's voice but not forming words, just raw terror and pain. "Butler's down," Rodriguez yelled. "I can see him on my scope. Something's got him." I placed my final charge with shaking hands, set the timer, started climbing back toward the entrance. "Mitchell, Butler, respond," I called out. Mitchell's voice came through, weak and strained. I'm hit. They touched me. My arm is, oh God, Martinez, my whole arm is stone. Mitchell, get out of there. I'm trying, but there are so many of them. They're everywhere. The whole colony is down here. Hundreds of them." I reached the main chamber. Through the maze of calcified bodies, the graveyard of victims, I could see Mitchell stumbling toward me. Her entire left arm was gray stone hanging limp at her side. Behind her, a dozen stone people were grinding forward. "Martinez, take this." She threw me the remote detonator. "I can't run anymore. The calcification is spreading. My chest, I can feel it, can't breathe right." "Mitchell, move!" I grabbed her good arm, trying to pull her along. But she pulled away. "No time. Those charges go off in 18 minutes. You need to be clear of the blast radius. That's 3 kilometers minimum. You can't carry me that far. We don't leave people behind. You don't leave living people behind." Mitchell's eyes were fierce. "I'm stone, Martinez. Half my body is already gone. But I can still press a button. I can still trigger the detonation. You run. Get to safety. I'll make sure these things never hurt anyone else." More stone people were emerging from the tunnels. 20, 30, the entire colony converging on this chamber. Rodriguez appeared from the east tunnel, running full sprint. "Martinez, we need to go now. The caves are collapsing. The timers are triggering seismic shifts." "Mitchell won't make it. I know." Rodriguez grabbed my pack. "And she knows it too. Honor her choice. Let her be a hero." Mitchell raised the detonator in her one remaining flesh hand. The stone people were closing in. 10 meters. 5 meters. "Go!" she screamed at us. "Go, go, go!" Rodriguez and I ran. Behind us, Mitchell's voice carried through the cave. "For Anderson, for Foster, for Morrison, for Harris, for Santos, for Williams, for every one, you turned to stone." We burst out of the cave entrance into the cold night air. Kept running. Through the forest. Past the ruined camp. Toward the road. Behind us, Mitchell triggered the detonation early. Every charge went off simultaneously. Underground, in the pipes, in the structural supports, in the geothermal system itself. The ground heaved. Old Faithful erupted. Not the normal eruption, but a catastrophic release. Water shot 1,000 feet into the air. The entire thermal basin exploded upward, geysers erupting in chain reaction. Steam filled the air. The temperature jumped 50 degrees in seconds. And then the caves collapsed. The mountain itself seemed to sigh and sink. The entrance we just escaped from disappeared, swallowed by falling rock. The entire underground system, hundreds of chambers, miles of tunnels, all came down at once. Burying the stone people, burying Mitchell, burying Butler, sealing them in stone forever. Rodriguez and I didn't stop running until we reached the main road, 3 kilometers from the blast zone. We collapsed in the snow, gasping, watching the thermal basin burn. Old Faithful was destroyed. What had been a reliable geyser for thousands of years was now a massive steam vent, releasing pressure continuously. The entire thermal basin had been transformed into a volcanic landscape. But the caves were sealed. The stone people were trapped. The threat was contained. "Just us," Rodriguez said quietly. 2 out of 10. I nodded, too exhausted to speak. The helicopter arrived at 0700 hours, right on schedule. By then, the sun was up, revealing the full scope of what we'd done. The upper geyser basin was changed forever. What had been a pristine thermal landscape was now a crater, still steaming, the ground cracked and broken. Park rangers and USGS personnel were already arriving. They saw the destruction and assumed a volcanic event. A natural eruption. That's what the official report would say. We were evacuated to Malmstrom Air Force Base for debriefing. The questions were endless. What happened to our team? What caused the eruption? What were we doing down there? We stuck to the script. Equipment malfunction in the caves triggered a seismic event. Cascading geothermal failure. 8 rangers killed in the resulting collapse and eruption. Tragic accident. Nobody asked about the stone people. Nobody mentioned the calcified bodies we'd left behind. Nobody talked about creatures made of living rock that turned flesh to stone with a touch. Because officially, those things didn't exist. The caves beneath Yellowstone's thermal basin were sealed with military-grade concrete and rebar within a week. Geological instability, they said. Risk of further collapse. The entire area was designated off-limits. Armed rangers patrol it 24/7, officially to prevent tourists from dangerous ground, unofficially to make sure nothing digs its way out. Rodriguez and I were honorably discharged 6 months later. Medical grounds. PTSD from the traumatic cave collapse. We both receive full disability benefits and a non-disclosure agreement that we signed without hesitation. I still have Stone Bear's obsidian pendant. I wear it every day. Not because I think it will protect me, I'm not in Yellowstone anymore, but because it reminds me of what we faced, what we survived, and what we left behind. The official casualty list reads, Lieutenant Jaden Butler, Master Sergeant James Rodriguez, Sergeant First Class Yolanthe Mitchell, Specialists Anderson, Foster, Williams, Harris, and Santos. 8 American heroes who died in a geological accident while serving their country. The truth is that they died fighting something that shouldn't exist. They died stopping a threat that would have spread beyond Yellowstone, turning people into statues, creating an army of stone creatures that could never be killed because they were never truly alive. Mitchell, in her final moments, chose to become a hero. Butler fought until something got him in those caves. Williams sacrificed himself to buy us time. Morrison, Harris, Santos, Foster, Anderson, all of them gave their lives stopping the stone people. And Rodriguez and I carry their memory. We're the only ones who know the truth. It's been 16 months since Yellowstone. The thermal basin has stabilized. Old Faithful will never erupt again. What was a geyser is now a permanent steam vent. The USGS monitors it constantly. So far, the seismic activity is normal. The caves remain sealed. But I watch the news. I monitor reports of missing persons in Yellowstone. I read the ranger reports that Rodriguez shares with me through back channels. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes, there are reports of tremors in the sealed area, of unusual heat signatures on infrared, of grinding sounds heard by rangers on night patrol. Most of it is probably nothing. Geological settling. The mountain adjusting to the collapsed cave system. But every time I hear about it, I think about those stone people, about the colony we buried, about whether our explosives actually killed them or just sealed them in. Rock doesn't die. Minerals don't rot. The stone people existed for millions of years before we found them. Who's to say they can't survive being buried for a few more? Yellowstone is built on the biggest supervolcano in North America. It erupts every 600,000 years or so. The last eruption was 640,000 years ago. We're overdue, and when it erupts, when the mountain finally splits open and releases all that pressure, what else might come out with it? I'm writing this as a warning. If you visit Yellowstone, stay on the marked paths. Don't explore restricted areas. Don't go into caves, especially not the sealed ones. And if you see anything that looks like stone but moves, if you hear grinding in the darkness, if you encounter anything that glows orange in the night, run. Don't look at their eyes. Don't let them touch you. Don't disturb the deep places where they sleep. The stone people are still there beneath Yellowstone. We didn't kill them. We just bought time. And time in geological terms doesn't mean much to creatures made of rock. They've waited millions of years. They can wait a little longer. But they're not gone. They're never truly gone.